great rescue.
So if you have a question and you haven't put that speaker card, raise your hand, and Joanna or Jennifer will get you a speaker card and a pen. Get your hand, keep your hands up, and hopefully we won't be having too many questions. All right, where are my guests? Mr. Hochman, Mr. Captain Bland. Did you scare them or were they? I don't know where they are.
Here, it's on. Just hold this.
Testing. Oh, that's. Can the people in back hear right now? You guys can hear? Okay.
Can you try the other one?
Test one, test two.
A committee meeting, so I am going to call it to order. So meeting has started, and I'm going to take roll. Josh, present. Kelvin, Adam,
Present.
Jennifer. Everybody's here. Okay, so first of all, I'm so sorry for this. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming. It means a lot to the neighborhood council, and it means a lot to this community who is hurting right now, nervous, and so I don't know. we're going to do this differently. It's wired. All right. Okay.
Better.
So hopefully we won't have any more technical difficulties. I'm sorry. We don't do this every day, so it is amazing to see so many people here. I really want to thank you guys for coming. You know, a lot of times when we're upset and we're scared and things go wrong, we complain to our friends and to our neighbors and on social media. But when you have the chance to back up your words with actions, it makes a difference. And it's really important that you're here so that these people can see how important this is to you. So thank you, and applause to you guys for coming. I appreciate it. For those of you who don't know, the organization hosting this is the Encino Neighborhood Council. If you don't know what Neighborhood Council is, we're basically the closest form of government to the people. I like to say that we're a step below the city council, but it's a really big step below the city council. But the city council covers a big area, and we're seeing boards all the way from Silver Lake to Encino, and sometimes it's hard for them to address everybody and all the issues. But the Encino Neighborhood Council is here just for Encino, and we represent you. And so when you need a problem fixed or you've got an issue, you come to us. A lot of times we can be the ones to help you. And I feel deeply connected to Robin Kay and Tom Kay, because that's what they did about a month ago. They reached out to the Encino Neighborhood Council with the problem that they were having, and it was a safety issue. I'm the public safety chair, and it came to me, and I've been helping them for the last week, for the last month, with the problem that they were having. And I had met with them the night before they were murdered, and I was on a Zoom call with them 2.5 hours before they were murdered.
Oh my God.
And so for me, it was difficult for me, and I feel very connected to this case, and it's personal for me. And so I'm glad that you guys are all here, and it's important to you guys too. I just asked you guys, we have QR codes. We have good events all the time. This isn't the only one. Sign up for our email list, and you'll hear about everything we do. Come to our meetings, get involved. This is great when we have this kind of engagement with the community. And I was also asked to make an announcement about EPOA, Encino Property Owners Association. They're having a Zoom meeting on the 31st with Mayor Bass. They'll be talking about this case, the murder. They'll be talking about issues in Ciuffetelli Basin, the issues with the Oak Tree Motel that's opening, that is going to be essentially a homeless shelter on Ventura Boulevard. And so if you want to get the Zoom link to that, you have to email info@encinopoa.com to get the Zoom link. It's info@encinopoa.com. The way this is going to work is you guys have all filled out speaker cards with the questions you want to ask, and we just want to make sure that we don't have the same question asked 10 times. So Josh is going to go through the speaker cards and call you guys up by name, and you come up here and ask your question. And you'll have 1 minute to ask your question or make whatever comment you want. And we have a timer here, so everybody's treated the exact same way, and nobody thinks that they got cheated or shortchanged. So everybody gets 60 seconds. And I'm going to turn it over now to Captain Bland. He is captain at the West Valley LAPD station. And thanks, Thomas. And thank you to, we have extra people that we weren't even expecting. We're just so glad for you guys to be here. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's not lost on me you can be anywhere else. Instead, you chose here to be with us, so I appreciate that. I am Mike Bland. I am the Patrol Commanding Officer at West Valley. My partner, Brian Wendland, you normally see him, but he's on his pre-scheduled vacation. Some of you guys have seen in the past and I've met, and others I haven't, and it's with really heavy heart that it's unfortunate that we have to meet under these circumstances. I just want to share before I talk about some of the crime trends that I think you're asking me for. Roy brought up the point that Wednesday night there was a community meeting that he was at that Thursday. And that community meeting he had organized on our station, and I had a chance to connect with Robin and Tom, sitting at the same table that meeting for about 2 hours, and spent some extra time with them, and I shared with Roy how difficult this was for me. So it is personal, and it's something that we're taking very seriously. In my near 25 years, this one's really hit me hard because I had a personal connection with them for 2 hours. And they had an impact on me for 2 hours. I can just imagine all of you that are friends, family, community members, the impact that they had on you. So again, I will try to navigate the questions as best I can. I want to lead in first by just expressing to you, again, my sorrow, but also talking about some of the crime trends because I know that the fear is real out there. So I'll go through some of the things that are impacting the Encino community. The major driver of crime in Encino is residential burglaries. One of the things I'll add is that I'm going to express and talk to you about the decreases, but to each victim of a crime, that crime is 100% real. And for the neighbors and the community members, even if I'm going to talk about decreases, the fear is real. And I'll also explain to you guys what we're doing about it. So again, 100% real to the victim and 100% your fear in the community. I live just east of the city of LA, and in the month of May, we had an organized burglary crew that was hitting my community, and they were caught, but my wife and my kids still to this day have trouble sleeping. And we put up cameras as a result of it in May, June. So again, I can empathize, and again, my heart goes out to everybody, but we're here to do everything we can to curtail that. So when you look at the year-to-date burglaries just in Encino itself, I can report to you that there is a decrease in crime in the area of Encino. 188 burglaries year-to-date, that's both residential and commercial, versus 196, and that's through last night at midnight through the 20th. That's about a 4% decrease. West Valley, the 33 square miles, we're down 20% in residential and commercial burglaries combined as well. When we isolate, now many of you guys know Slow Tim Wally. I know he's the friendly face that everybody sees. And I'm glad he's here because he is your conduit directly to us at West Valley. When you look and you just isolate his area, and first of all, the numbers that I gave you for Encino, when we look at the data, we're looking at everything from Victory on the north to Mulholland on the south, just follow me, to Reseda on the west to the 405 on the east. So that's a pretty big area that extends just north of the 101 freeway. But when we isolate just the Tim's area, so everything south coming from the 101 south, we actually show a 15% decrease just in residential burglaries alone. So 109 last year based on Friday's numbers, the 18th, versus 129 or 120 this same period last year. So again, another decrease. But again, the decreases don't matter. There's still people being victimized by these crimes, by these organized burglary crews. And so again, I want to make sure that you understand. I can talk to you guys about these numbers, but facts remain is we're still here and we're still fearful, and that's why this room is filled today, coupled with the tragic death of Robin and Tom. So what are we doing about this? Last year, if you remember, in the summertime, we had a similar uptick in burglaries. It was newsworthy. I think Gigi Graciette from Fox 11 was calling me every morning to see what we were doing about things, and that was very scary for everyone. Very similar to what we did last year, during the hours of darkness, our patrol officers are directed to the Encino community, everything south of the 101 in the area that's Tim Walia's basic car. And that is between the hours of 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. If our patrol officers have any extra time that they're not handling 911 calls, our direction is to be here in the Encino area during hours of darkness. We've also added an added layer of our Watch 5 units. They start at 4 and they get off at 2 a.m. And when they're also free from patrol calls, they're going to be out here the same thing during hours of darkness. So we've added that extra layer. Last year we asked for extra flyovers by our airship or helicopter, so we're asking the same. I think many of you might recall the horses that were around in the Encino area. We're trying to ask for them again. Everybody loves horses, and I think that was a really good deterrent factor and something that we could really engage the community at, so we're looking at adding that. That request is still being vetted. And again, you got Tim here too, who's got tons of burglary tips, and I would invite you all to go to our West Valley Instagram and Facebook so that you guys can see what you can do to fortify and harden the target of your home. But again, this is not something we take lightly, even if we can sit here and talk about decreases in crime. Tim, is there anything that you wanted to add to this in terms of overall crime? if I can bug you to phone a friend and come on over and talk for a second.
No, just remember, you can get all these tips on the LAPD West Valley Facebook page. Same with Sarah, she's our CAD person, our crime analyst person. She puts all this information out on her Facebook page too, which is CAD Sarah. All this information is available for you. So for all the people that haven't done it, please join that. Both those Facebook pages, LAPD West Valley and CAD Sarah.
If you look at last year's summer months, last June, we started to see an increase in burglaries, residential burglaries in Encino. Last June, in 2024, we had 22 burglaries. This year, we have 13 in the month of June. We had 19 in July, and again, this goes through last Friday's numbers, and through that same period, we had 12. So we do have burglaries that are occurring. And again, the fear, the sentiment, the things that you guys are sharing via social media, they are happening. But what I am proud to say, and I think that's helping us as a game changer, is last year, following the uptick, we really fortified our relationships with our internal partners. So we brought in a commercial crimes division. We have a metropolitan division. So the metropolitan division for the LAPD is kind of our preeminent law enforcement entity. They're the experts in enforcement and patrol and surveillance. They were brought in last year, and they continue to do great things to help us. When we get an investigative lead on a burglary, we are exploiting that with fervor and to the best of our abilities immediately. I know that many of you heard about a burglary last week that ended with the homeowner shooting at the suspects. Did any of you guys hear about that? Yeah. So that thing was solved within about 2 hours of it because of the work by our detectives, and then later that night. And I can't go into all the insider secrets as to how we solved it, but we solved that within 2 hours. And thankfully, everybody was okay, minus the trauma in the emotion of the incident. But in that case, we were able to solve that within about 2 hours and also serve a search warrant later that night on the location. Again, another organized burglary crew that's coming up here into our area. At this time, Roy, I don't know if you want me to ask for questions or if I can pass on to the other. I want to introduce Marla Ciuffetelli. She's a deputy chief of the commanding officer of Operations Valley Bureau, so I wanted to make sure I gave her a chance to talk. But again, I'll be here for any questions. I hope at least it gives you a sense that West Valley cares tremendously about this. So thank you.
Thanks, Mike. And thank you all for being here tonight. I'd like to echo Mike's sentiment that we know you could be at home right now, but you're spending the evening with us, trying to learn more about what we're doing to protect the community, some recent tragic events in the community, and what you can do, hopefully, to help us protect your own residences. As Mike said, I've met a lot of you, but I'm Marla Ciuffetelli. I'm the Deputy Chief of Operations Valley Bureau. West Valley is one of the divisions within Valley Bureau. Oh, we're having some technical.
We can hear you.
Okay, I have to use my big girl voice. So Mike went over some of those crime stats, and it's true. Citywide, we're enjoying crime reductions, pretty profound crime reductions. The Valley's no exception. We have some upticks, but generally speaking, we're having phenomenal numbers on crime reduction. That being said, when two wonderful people end up dead in their own home, those crime statistics fall kind of flat. And we take them to heart. Now, burglary is a very it's a personal crime, right? Somebody's going into your home. And it's bad enough when you get home and somebody has broken into your house and your stuff is scattered about. You feel violated. But when you're inside the house and you hear them breaking in, and most of the time, if they hear a dog or they hear an alarm or something, they hear you, they run away. But if a homeowner is harmed when confronting one of these burglars, it's tragic, and it hits all of our sense of safety. It's our most intimate, our home is our castle. So we're here tonight to try to answer some questions, give some tips. We can't talk about everything that we're doing, of course, as Captain Bland alluded to. We have Metropolitan Division, and we utilize some tactics that would lose their effectiveness if we publicized them. But we're working the problem hard. And we're utilizing every resource we can to battle the problem. I know there were some concerns also. I want to just talk about the response. I think some of you might have questions about the initial response, and I'll go into that a little bit. I can't go into great detail. We're still assessing the response, the initial response that happened on the 10th of July to the residents on White Oak. There were 2 radio calls issued that day. Officers went out to the location. They utilized some resources such as the airship. The home is quite fortified and difficult to make entry. They utilized some tactics that I would expect my officers to utilize in a similar situation. There are basically 3 entities involved, of course, in a radio call such as this. We have our patrol officers who go out to the scene, communications, our dispatchers who receive the call, get the information, pass that pertinent information to the officers for their response. And in this particular case, air support, which is a tool our officers oftentimes use to check locations, clear areas, have eyes on the best they can when they can't make entry. And all 3 of these entities were involved in this radio call. And we're looking at all 3 entities to make sure that appropriate action was taken. If appropriate action wasn't taken, of course, we'll take action. And even if the response to the call met our expectations, we always want to try to do better. We always want to try to do better. So we do what's called a tactical debrief after tactical situations. We have a hot wash. We talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and we're always striving to try to respond better. And I assure you, we're doing that hot wash and taking a very close look at the response. And I'm not saying that there was any mistakes made, but we're making sure that in similar circumstances that we respond appropriately when somebody makes a radio call to police. Mike talked a little bit about some of the strategies we're utilizing. And we are a short-staffed police department. We all know, right? We're at levels in the police department. I started 27 years ago, and we're at levels in the police department when I started 27 years ago. So we're going to have to be smarter, work leaner, utilize strategies, utilize community engagement, and we're, as a community, going to have to try to take care of each other the best we can, which is getting involved in neighborhood watch, keeping an eye on your neighbor's house, making sure it's terrible to be paranoid, but making sure you lock that door, making sure you have an alarm set if you have an alarm. There are certain things that you can do to make yourself less likely to be a victim, whether it's burglary or robbery or any number of crimes. So we take every opportunity, and this is a great opportunity. I've been in this very location several times and spoken to many of you, and I ask your help every time I come out because we need your help. And so many of you guys are the most engaged. You guys are here on a Monday night. So I need you to push out any information you get consistently to your neighbors, to your folks, to your family, to your kids, to try to make sure that we're all kind of thinking about things we can do to make ourselves safer. I don't want to take too much of the time. We have the district attorney here tonight to speak to you, but we're going to make ourselves available for questions and we'll open it up. But I really wanted to thank you all for being here. I really do appreciate it.
My name is Nathan Hochman. I'm the District Attorney of Los Angeles County. I thought it was very important for me to be here tonight to deal with this community straight on, to answer your questions, provide you with information, because information is power. And there's probably about 250 people in this room. I don't see 250 people. I see 2,500 people. I see 25,000 people. I see maybe 200,000 people. Because if all of you take the opportunity to connect in with your contact lists, whether you have a social media following, an email following, a text chain, and you provide the information, you channel your passion and concern for the issues tonight to all your friends, your neighbors, and your connections, and you demand that we get some better safety in this community, then again, this meeting alone can be the catalyst for making that happen. So this is personal to me as well as the captain, as well as everyone in LAPD. Why? I've been a lifelong Angelino. Coming to Encino is something I've done off and on my whole life. Loved coming to Encino. And when you come to Encino, or for that matter anywhere in this county, the government owes you one thing, and it owes you safety. Certainly safety in the streets, safety in the schools, safety in your parks, and absolutely safety in your home. And Robin and Tom didn't experience safety. Safety failed them that night. And so we have to look very deep and very hard as to how that failure actually occurred and what we can do about it to make sure it doesn't occur again. Now the captain's right. If you just wanted to look at statistics, you would think that everything is going in the right direction, and it actually is. But my father used to say that he's never met anyone 6.2% unemployed, or 6.2% robbed, or burglarized, or murdered. For the people for which all of this occurred, it's 100%. And they don't give two darns about what the statistics or the direction of the statistics are. And I get that. And my heart goes out to this community, to Robin and Tom's family and friends. Because again, safety did not work in this situation. And so when we look at how this came to be, we had this gentleman, Mr. Budarian, who's been arrested. He got arrested literally the day after the police got the information and had found the bodies. And so how were they able to, you'll hear about all the evidence. And I don't want to necessarily talk about evidence that we're going to present in a court of law. I can talk generally about what's out there. And basically, Mr. Budarian got caught because he used his cell phone to contact the police concerning this situation. Actually identified himself by name. The police were able to ping the cell phone, find out where he lived, go to his residence, and arrest him. At the time, they found the gun that was actually used in the murder. It wasn't his gun. It was a gun that he had recovered from the actual house. It was Robin and Tom's gun. It wasn't his gun. Just exceptionally tragic. But again, the police, once they had that information, worked at light speed to bring Mr. Budarian to justice, and now it's up to the district attorney's office to prosecute that case. Mr. Budarian has been charged with 2 first-degree murder charges with special circumstances. That means at a minimum he's looking at life without the possibility of parole as he gets through this prosecution and the criminal justice system. It's not going to in any way bring back Robin and Tom, but the criminal justice system will mete out justice against Mr. Budarian for his actions and hold him accountable. And we're going to do it in a court of law. Because anything I say tonight is not evidence. It's not evidence in any way. That evidence will be presented as it should in the court of law to find him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, whether he goes to trial or not. So that part I can assure you as to what's going on. But now you ask yourself, okay, how did this occur? How did Mr. Budarian get to this position where he ended up, as the charges show, murdering 2 members of our community? And what can we do about it? Well, here's where you'll also hear information as we present it in court about our mental health system. And I'm here to give you a flat-out, honest answer on mental health in the criminal justice system. And the mental health laws that exist today are insane. And I didn't really appreciate that. I did not appreciate that as a resident. I didn't even really appreciate that running for office. But once I got into the DA's office and I opened up the hood of what the office was and saw some of the bigger problems that the office has been facing and fighting against for years. I saw one of the issues is mental health laws that have been passed by our state legislature. Back in 2018, they changed those laws and they made them in favor of defendants who have a mental illness, almost no matter what crime they have committed, with certain very limited exceptions. For murder or for rape, for instance, that they can then qualify for mental health diversion. There's a case that you might have read about recently in Santa Monica, as an example, where an individual took a crowbar, literally beat another person almost within an inch of his life, has left him in a wheelchair for the rest of his life, had a violent past, had been through mental health programs. And despite the district attorney's office telling that judge that that person should not get mental health diversion, because what mental health diversion is, it's not a plea of guilty. It's not a plea of insanity. It's a plea that lets an individual, not even a plea, it's a path that lets you divert out of the criminal justice system into a mental health treatment facility, that if you're there for 2 years and are able to complete that 2-year pre-treatment, your entire criminal record in that respect is wiped off. Your charges are dismissed. And in that particular case, and I'm highlighting a lot of these cases that are out there, even though the victim was in a wheelchair in the court, looking at the judge saying, "Where's justice for me?" that judge ordered mental health diversion for that particular defendant, despite our objection. And people need to understand that that is where the law has gravitated, that there's actually a presumption that if you have one of these mental illnesses, it contributed to your crime. And the judges then go ahead and allow this path out of the criminal justice system. So, we're seeing and we're looking into that situation with Mr. Guderian as to how someone who on paper in prior incidences had exhibited some mental health issues got effectively diverted out of the criminal justice system. It is not fair. It is not right. But that is the laws we have in place now. Those laws have to change. Now I'm going to help lead an effort over the next year or whatever amount of time it takes, because I'm not going to kick that can down the road anymore. And by the way, it doesn't mean but I want to make it clear where the balance comes in, because it doesn't mean that there isn't a place for mental health diversion with people who don't have a violent past, who went ahead, for instance, and stole from a 7-Eleven, and it was a non-violent first-time criminal offense, and they have a mental illness. And rather than put them in a turnstile of a criminal justice system, those people can be diverted out, if appropriate, into mental health treatment, and hopefully they won't commit any more low-level or higher-level crimes again. So there is a place for mental health diversion for those first-time non-violent offenders. But when you have people who have engaged in acts of violence, to then trust that they'll get to a mental health treatment facility, and let me give you the secret about what no one will tell you. In our county, we have 100 beds for over 10 million people that are called locked beds. That means if you get assigned to that facility, you can't leave if you have a serious mental illness. We only have 100 of those, and they're filled, and there's a waiting list. All other beds that people are being assigned to who have these violent pasts are in unlocked facilities. That means any day they can walk out of that facility and nobody can stop them. Again, this is the dark secret because we have not invested in facilities to deal with the appropriate mental health treatment for the people who need it. And if they do need it and they're in a locked facility so they can't walk out, they'll get that treatment and they'll stay in that facility, so be it. But if we have all the rest of our facilities in this county, our unlocked facilities, I don't want to be responsible as a district attorney for in any way participating in someone with a violent past who's committed a violent crime, ending up in an unlocked facility, and then having the chance to commit more crimes in the future. So we are absolutely going to make this an issue for everyone to understand. And if they agree with my approach, which is to basically change the laws when it deals with violent people with a violent past who committed serious crimes, and also provide for this additional funding that we've asked the state for, and the state hasn't really provided at all. But we need that additional funding to build these state-of-the-art mental health facilities to deal with this population of people who have this illness, who, if they don't get treatment, you're going to find them out on the streets. They're going to be through that turnstile of criminal justice. And if we don't put a stop to that, we're not going to be helping ourselves either. So again, this situation, one of the things I actually learned tonight from the captain is that they have accessed the resources when it comes to burglary from all the other important divisions in the LAPD. And let me explain to you, because the captain's in some ways too modest to explain it, but I understood the significance of that immediately. Because guess what? The people who are engaging in burglary in this community most likely are not from this community. They're coming from other places in LA City and LA County to come here and commit these acts of burglary. So if he's able to access other of the elite agencies within LAPD who are now going to put resources into Encino and hopefully all the other communities to track the burglars into maybe South LA, East LA, other parts of even the county, and then actually go after and arrest those burglars, that's how you're going to help Encino. That's how you're going to help all the surrounding communities, is by LAPD truly accessing all the resources it has for each and every one of the communities. And though Sheriff Luna's not here, I'm sure the LA Sheriff's Department that has governance over the other 87 cities in Los Angeles County, that is, there's 88 cities in Los Angeles County. LA City is one of those cities and the largest. The sheriff and other local law enforcement are in charge of the police work in those cities. They'll tell you the same thing. That even though they are down 1,200 deputies, even though LAPD is down 1,300 officers, and they are trying to do more with less every single day. They got my respect for doing that, because that is a difficult job. And yes, they deserve a lot of applause. But whether it's the mental health laws that you now have a little bit of information, I encourage you to learn more about it. Whether or not it's the resources that the LA City Council has given to LAPD and the County Board of Supervisors is giving to the sheriff, you gotta stand up and be heard. Because if you think that we can basically govern and police our area with fewer officers rather than actually more officers, again, deterrence has been proven by the presence of an officer in a community. It's great if they're in cars. That's fantastic. And more cars, the merrier. But if they can be walking the patrols and not just driving the cars, you have an increased deterrence presence. You know, New York City has 42,000 officers for New York City. The LAPD has roughly 8,700. The sheriff has roughly 9,000. So call that roughly, we'll round it up to 18,000. You add in other local law enforcement, I'll throw another 5,000 on top of that. So for a county the size of LA County, we have roughly, call it 22 or 23,000 sworn law officers compared to New York's 42,000 for a much smaller geographic area. And how did New York pull that off? Because New Yorkers said to their government, we want to have an adequate police presence to keep us safe. And that government responded to the people, and they funded it. If we want that type of police presence, and I'm talking about really good police officers, the best and the brightest, we got to have that as a priority in this community. So again, you're going to hear me constantly tell people throughout this city, throughout this county, what's actually up. Because the reason I ran for district attorney is that my predecessor had a different political agenda that created 4 years of basically a lack of accountability for the criminals committing the crime, a lack of consequences. Part of what we're dealing with now is I've told LAPD, I've told the sheriff, I've told all law enforcement, DA's office is open for business. Absolutely. You bring us the cases and you give us evidence beyond a reasonable doubt, we'll bring the case, or we'll give a fair shot to every one of those cases. There is no more decarceration political philosophy controlling the DA's office. And by the way, I want to make this clear too. I didn't substitute one political philosophy, decarceration, which is what it was called, that said certain crimes and certain criminals were off limits, despite the facts and the law, with a different political philosophy called mass incarceration. Also, a political philosophy that's not grounded in the facts and the law, but had an objective just to fill prisons. The agenda, the approach that I have brought is one that for decades prosecutors and law enforcement officers have embraced because it's anchored in the facts and the law, not a political agenda at all. It looks, thank you. It looks at the individual case individually, no more blanket policies. It says we're going to look at the individual defendant and the defendant's background, the crime committed and the impact on the victim, to determine who the true threats are to our public safety, and those are often the repeat offenders who need to be behind bars. But just as importantly, the first-time nonviolent offender still has to pay a debt back to society for violating society's laws, but in those cases, non-prison alternatives might be the call. Community service, restitution, or if you have a serious drug addiction that got you to do the crime, we'll give you a choice. You can go to prison, or you can do an 18-month rehab program that if you get through one day at a time, we'll give you a certificate and wipe that crime off your record. That is what I've called the hard work middle or the hard middle approach. And we are applying it to all crimes across the board. Because the idea is to build in a system that consistently, fairly, and impartially enforces the law, does it smartly with common sense and proportionality, but makes it clear to the criminals that there are real consequences for their action. Because my ultimate goal is not to fill the prisons to the breaking point. If anything, that's a failure of the criminal justice system. My goal is to deter criminals from committing the crimes in the first place, thus saving a whole lot of victims in the process. And law enforcement and the DA's office have to work with a united front to accomplish that. Because to deter criminals, criminals have to appreciate that there is some level of certainty that they will be arrested and brought to justice if they commit the crime. That's where law enforcement comes in. But equally, when they get to the DA's office, they have to experience meaningful consequences for their actions. That's been missing, in part, for the last 4 years. Starting on December 3rd when I got sworn in, we brought that back. And I've got 750 prosecutors who are on message, on mission, working now with law enforcement every single day to send the message to these criminals that their golden age of committing crimes without consequence is done. We're going to hold them accountable. So again, what brings me here tonight, there are no words for it. It's a tragedy that's frustrating. It quite honestly pisses me off, as it should all of you. And it makes us scared. I mean, a couple of years ago, I know you're in a community where there's a break-in. My house got broken into. When I was out for dinner for 45 minutes with my wife and 2 of my 3 kids at the time, we came back, and when we opened up the garage, we think it actually scared the burglars who were in the house at the time we came back. They had come in through taking a crowbar to a back window separating the back of our house to the front, and the window was cracked. It was a 1/4-inch glass that they had to hammer pretty hard to crack it. We had dogs. The dogs didn't deter them. The burglars were running out. As my kids were coming in, they ran back into the car. We got out. We called 911. LAPD was incredible, actually. They were there in 5 minutes. 2 police cars, 4 officers. Turns out they were investigating another burglary in the neighborhood, so they just happened to be 5 minutes away from my house. They had one of the air crews up. This is, by the way, before I was the DA. This was just when I was a resident of the community. They had an air crew up in 10 minutes. They still didn't catch, to this day, the burglars. So I understand that feeling. My wife won't let me go in the house until she checks the Ring cameras before we go in the house. So it is a feeling of, as you said quite correctly, violation of your sanctuary, the castle. But I am going to assure you that the DA's office is going to work with law enforcement every day to hold these criminals responsible, to hold them accountable for their actions, to make sure they understand that it's a different day and age they're living in right now. And I can't thank you enough for being here tonight. And all I ask of you is to share your passion and concern with everybody so that we can really hopefully change this community.
I just wanted to add, just dovetail on a couple of things that Dave Hochman just said. In terms of our partnership internally, we've activated our internal resources, but externally, I think I mentioned, we have a thriving relationship with the LA County Sheriff's Organized Burglary Task Force. We consistently share information and interface with them. You know, for us, crime prevention is a top priority, and that's why we send units out here, and we're out here visibly patrolling, but the reality is when the breakdown happens, it turns into an investigation. And I can promise you guys, and I can show that from last week with our 2-hour, we solved the one within 2 hours. We have a relentless focus and follow-up and a sense of urgency, particularly on our burglaries, and especially in Encino, because we know it's going to be a flashpoint. Burglary crews are going to come here. I was in charge of a burglary investigative unit about 10 years ago in Northeast LA, and we had a similar community in Los Feliz and Eagle Rock that were consistently getting burglarized. And I think there's some similarities of communities, especially with major thoroughfares where suspects can come in and then quickly get to the 101, the 405, and down Ventura. When we've sent our units up here, there have been times that we've gone in vehicle pursuits of suspects that we've caught in the act or they're getting away with their lights off. And in the last 2 years I've been here, oftentimes they're able to drive 120 to 130 down Ventura, and I can't expect my officers to do that for safety reasons. But we've also seen them throwing thumbtacks out like it's Mario Kart. And they've flattened the tires of our cars. So the sophistication that we're dealing with, that I dealt with when I did this 10 years ago, is much higher. But our officers work relentlessly, not just to solve, but to put together quality filings that we can pass on to the DA and his team so that we can secure those filings. And we make an arrest, and within 48 hours, we've got to be in his office with that case to try to secure that filing. And we do the best darn job we can try to do. So I just wanted to make sure I said that.
And I was remiss. So we have 2 lieutenants here. Lieutenant Kathy Jennings, standing back there hiding. She's the detective commanding officer at West Valley, so she's the one that pushes those cases and tries to get those filings and supervises those detectives doing their work. And to my left is Lieutenant Guy Golan. He is the Valley Bureau Homicide commanding officer. His team pushed relentlessly to achieve justice in every homicide in the Valley and worked 36 straight hours to achieve some measure of justice for Tom and Roman. So I want to thank him for doing this.
Thank you for your remarks and your sharing that information with us. We are going to go to questions now. Are you going to call people, or are you going to just read the questions?
I mean, there are a lot of, it might be difficult for people to come forward. There might be too many people here to call on everybody to have them come up, but if Zvi Gutentag, or is that person here? Yeah, would you like to come up and ask your question?
Question was, how many police cars and officers are assigned to Encino, and in what streets they're supposed to patrol?
So, any given shift,
Repeat the question.
I can read it off. The question was, how many police cars and officers are assigned to Encino, and in what streets are they patrolling? So, I can give you the overall numbers. We have one basic A car that's slow Tim Walia's 10A99. There's one basic car that's assigned to 10A99. We have 7 units that are patrolling from the hours of 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And I have another 2 to 3 units that are here from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. So at any given time, you've got about 9 cars that are patrolling all of West Valley's 33 square miles. So you multiply that by 2, that's roughly 18 police officers for 33 square miles. And so what streets? So a lot of times I want them on the Ventura corridor and going south up into the hills. And again, a little bit north, but 101 freeway going south is basically what we give them. And we're looking at basically White Oak, over the 405 to Mulholland, down to the 101 freeway, which is basically Tim's basic A car. And again, those 9 units have been directed when they are not on patrol, because I have an additional, subtract the Encino area from the 33 square miles, I still got to get it to Roscoe, and the 405 over to Corbin. And so we've asked the extra units to come to Encino during hours of darkness when they're not handling radio calls, if that makes sense.
And they are, we call them patrol cars, right?
They're really radio response cars. So as soon as they log on, their buffer, their computer is filled with radio calls that they have to respond to. Very rarely, except when it's extremely quiet and the off hours of nighttime, are our radio cars able to do discretionary patrol. Generally speaking, they're speeding from call to call.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to just read some of these, actually. I think that it's going off of that. You mentioned that that the police are trying to do more with less. How specifically do you plan on doing more with less?
Thanks, Chief.
We don't have a choice, right? We live here, we police here. This is our city, so we're gonna continue to police this city with the resources we have. But it's not great, right? I talked about when I came on the job, and there were the same amount of officers with 3 less patrol divisions. In each one of those divisions is a couple hundred, 250-ish officers. And we had larger specialized units, we had SPEW units, we had full gang units, we had full narcotics units, we had full vice units, we had full roll calls. Those days are over. So we have to be really smart. We're asking for volunteers. We're asking for recruits. We work with our communities every chance we get. We are trying to leverage technology every chance we get. And we're trying to work smarter. I don't know if any of you have heard about the Drone as First Responder program. We're looking at a pilot program. We're launching drones to respond to radio calls. And in a very limited area, there's a lot of requirements for drone piloting. But for instance, burglary would be a perfect call. A drone can get over a burglary even if I don't have a radio car available, or they have a more extended response because they're coming from a domestic violence call or from the station where they've just started watch. We might be able to get a drone overhead and be able to get a good description of suspects, a good description of vehicle, follow that vehicle, see where they're heading. So we're trying to leverage technology. We're trying to leverage partnerships with the community, reserve officers, volunteers, anything we can do to get the job done.
Let me give you a glimpse of what the future is going to hold. And if you want to see it being played out, it's actually being played out in Beverly Hills and Malibu Lost Hills right now. It's called a real-time watch center. What it does is that they've invested in being able to access all publicly facing cameras in their community into a center that basically puts all these feeds onto different screens. It then has an AI overlay on top of it, looking for abnormalities. So if a particular camera sees, for instance, in a commercial district, people coming in and out of the store throughout the days, the weeks, the months, and then they see someone running out of the store, the AI is going to trigger that. And it's going to send a message to the people who are operating the real-time watch center, focus on this one. Beverly Hills has, I believe, 2 drones that work almost full-time. So the minute that they identify some type of crime going on, you're absolutely correct. They send the drone over. Now, unless the crime has occurred within a block of the police station, that drone's going to get there in minutes. Instead of, it could be, it'll get there in minutes. A police car, even if it's close, it's going to take 10, 15, 20 minutes to get there, even a city as small as Beverly Hills. Then what happens is that the drone is going to feed the information to all the different parts of the real-time watch center that are not watching. Officers are now going to get dispatched. And what happens is that not only does it activate the area in which it's watching where the crime's occurring, now it activates the cameras to go ahead and focus on where that person's going. So if they end up going to a car, the car gets followed. The cameras follow the person. And then eventually, if they, the officers can catch up to the car, pull it over, and hopefully arrest those people. Now let me tell you that, again, the real significance of the real-time watch center is not with necessarily catching any particular individual criminal. It's by sending the word to criminals that there's a real-time watch center in Beverly Hills. That if you come in Beverly Hills and you want to commit a crime, your chances of getting caught have now gone up dramatically. So the criminals will think to themselves, I'm not going to go to Beverly Hills. This is what needs to be demanded from the LA City Council, which has pilot programs in some of these areas, to engage in this technology, which is not inexpensive. Because right now, LAPD has just under 8,700 police officers. That is down from a high of 10,000, and 10,000 wasn't enough for LA City. So you have to be able to leverage technology so that each police officer doesn't have to race to the scene to go ahead and catch the criminal. They can leverage all this technology in real time, very quickly, to go ahead and get to that, figure out who the criminal is, where they are, and catch them. Once we have that type of technology, and again, they pilot tested this all over the place, so it really governs against privacy violations. Because one of the big complaints was we don't want to have Minority Report, the famous Tom Cruise movie, where they had technology and cameras in people's houses, outside people's houses. No, these are public-facing cameras that they have, and it's working. So I'm hoping that whether we do both. We can hire more officers, certainly, but also bring this technology on board within the next couple of probably years. And all of a sudden, if you go ahead and commit a burglary here in Encino, the drone will be on you within a minute or two. You'll have all the cameras activated in the neighborhood, and you'll catch the criminal, which will hopefully then deter them from coming here in the first place.
You asked what we're doing, and I think the chief and the DA said we're all in this together, and I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce James Brown, who's here from our volunteer team. James, if you can stand up. I think James exemplifies community police partnerships. He's out there volunteering for us. I'd love to see everybody in here with one of those uniforms. One of the areas that we're up in crime is our thefts here in Encino along the Ventura corridor, mostly shoplifting. And what we've done with James and his team is put them into the Target, or not in there, but in the parking lot. Target, TJ Maxx, asked them for extra patrol there, where we're seeing marshals, where we're seeing an increase in these thefts, just to be a deterrent with their vehicles. And I think James will also drive around some of the streets too with lights on to ensure that there are eyes and ears out there, because the 18 of us, myself, Brian Windling, we count on all of you to be our eyes and ears out there and be that force multiplier. So James, I appreciate that. And if you guys want, he's here to get anybody that wants to sign up. So there you go.
And this one, I think, is specifically for you, Mr. Hochman. You've spoken very well about what all these people could do, but what specifically should the next steps be for people who came to this meeting and who want something like a watch center in Encino.
How loud can you be? How loud can you be in every different form? If this group showed up at the LA City Council and you brought all your friends and you hit the email and the social media, the text messages for your council member, but not just your council member, get your friends all over LA, hit their council members. And all of a sudden they're going to have to make a decision. Because if they don't deliver these type of tools to law enforcement to deal with your safety, and by the way, safety being the primary obligation the government owes everyone here, if you're not safe, we can talk about every other thing they spend money on, but if you're not safe, you're going to eventually move here or move out. Your kids are going to move out. Your friends and neighbors are going to move out. My friends and neighbors have moved out. I'm encouraging them to come back, by the way. But that's what you can do at that level. Because again, it's all about the squeaky wheel. If they all of a sudden got tens of thousands of complaints from the people, imagine that, tens of thousands of people standing up and saying, we want a real-time watch center in our community. It exists, the technology is there, go fund it. I would tell you that if a city councilman then says, no, I'm not going to do that, good luck for that city councilman's re-election bid the next time. So again, that's at a big level. On a smaller level within the community, I couldn't agree more with what our folks in the LAPD have pointed out as far as, again, you need to become undesirable targets for criminals. And by that I mean if you have neighborhood watches that are very active, if you have people doing neighborhood policing, if you have just the eyes and the ears of your neighborhood, and I'm telling you, in this situation, again, I'll be brutally honest, the burglary was called in at the time it occurred. And again, it did not help, Robin and Tom, but it absolutely can help the next person. Absolutely. That kind of community togetherness where you're all watching each other's back. Obviously, you can hear the different tools. You'll get them on the social media, the website. Lighting, huge deterrent. Those sort of lights that turn on when someone's coming close to your property, incredibly effective at night. Obviously, alarm systems. I had an alarm system that wasn't turned on at the time of the burglary. We were only gone 45 minutes. We didn't think we needed to turn it on. Turn on your alarm systems. Again, there's other steps that you can take, and I'll defer to the people from the Los Angeles Police Department who are experts in telling you those individual steps. But as sort of working as a group, this is a fantastic group I see in front of me, and can be an enormously effective group if you can channel this energy outside of this room tonight to actually get things done.
So there's just another plug for the Encino Neighborhood Council. Sign up for our newsletter and really get involved. The next question, actually, it has to do, you spoke about mental health. And this is not about what we're here for, but it's about the Ciuffetelli Basin. What is going on to remove the encampments and to deal with the people who are living in the Ciuffetelli Basin, who were starting fires?
So, yeah, there was Ciuffetelli Basin. It's been a problem for many, 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 many years. And I think that they estimated 300, Mike, in the last census they did, maybe about roughly 300 homeless folks living down there. And these are the service-resistant homeless people. These are not the folks that are going to take the offer for the voucher or move into a shelter. So it's tough. It's the city's response to homelessness, and this was, I think, last time I was in this room, I talked a lot about this. We're talking a lot about this. The police department's one part of the team, and it's a city team. and the city's approach is dictated by a long history of our homelessness situation. And I can go off on the history on how we got kind of where we're at. There's not enough beds. If we were to get the people out of the basin tonight, we wouldn't have any place to put them. Not only that, we can only force them. It's a multi-jurisdictional. It's problematic, and I know you guys aren't going to like this answer because it's a complicated answer. All I can tell you is we're working on it. We're looking at solutions. The new deputy mayor of public safety is very interested. I think he was very surprised that we have multiple fires there a week. The fire department's been talking about this for a long time and the need for brush clearance. It's complicated by the fact that there's some rare birds and rare animals. So there's a lot of issues on the Sepulveda Basin. It's not going to be an easy problem to solve. We are looking at it. We're working as part of the team with the mayor's office, Parks and Rec. We have to work with the Army Corps of Engineers, who basically own most of the land down there. But we are trying to address the problem and trying to look at some unique strategies. We're having regular meetings on it right now. Can't promise you it's going to be anything quick, but we're going to try to work the issue and try to get these folks housed in a safe environment so we don't have to have this fire. I mean, obviously, after January, we don't want to have anybody setting fires, especially during windstorms. So I don't know if I answered the question, but we're aware of it. We're working it. We're going to hopefully have some solutions for it.
They're breaking the law there. They're breaking the law.
I'm Jamie Thompson for Amesbury Estates, and that was my question, and I really wanted it to the DA because we don't sleep at night worried that our homes are going to burn down. That does not happen in Griffith Park.
They're breaking the law.
Do we have to file a lawsuit to get the city to clean out the Sepulveda Basin? That's my question to you. Please help us.
All right. So from the DA's perspective, again, for 4 years before I became DA, the DA had a policy not to prosecute misdemeanors. Certain misdemeanors that were going on that the DA would have jurisdiction over in LA City or outside of LA City. They called those quality of life misdemeanors. They are basically every misdemeanor you can think of that is violated in a homeless encampment, whether it's everything from criminal threats, trespassing, loitering, certain levels of vandalism, certain types of even low-level arson. It doesn't rise to a level of a felony. I've changed that. I basically have told law enforcement, if you go ahead and bring these cases to the DA's office, and they're good cases, obviously the evidence is beyond a reasonable doubt to prove that a particular person committed a misdemeanor, the DA's office will prosecute. If it is a misdemeanor, though, in Los Angeles City, and that misdemeanor is against an adult, that actually had the primary jurisdiction is your LA City Attorney's Office, not the DA's office. I deal in LA City with juveniles for everything. I deal with felonies as it pertains to any adult in LA City. So if there are situations with arson, we, for instance, in the wildfires, every time someone in the county went ahead and set anything on fire, I told the folks, bring the felony charges. Felony charges hold potential state prison, particularly for people who've gone ahead and done this, as we were talking about, with criminal records. Now, very often in these situations, and I would guess the percentages are even higher, a lot of these homeless people who are lighting these fires have mental illness. They might have a drug addiction compounding it. I'm not using that as an excuse to not prosecute them. We've told law enforcement, if you go ahead and arrest them, especially if it's felony conduct, we'll go through that process. If they want to get this mental health diversion situation, we're going to oppose it every single time. But either way, we're going to deal with it in a court of law where hopefully evidence and facts are going to reign. So I'm sending this message out to local law enforcement that the DA's office will now be a partner in this effort to deal with the homeless in our community. Because by the way, you can't solve it by putting people in jail. I don't have enough jail space and bed space for 300 people in just the Sepulveda Basin, because quite honestly, you might as well open it up to 70 or 80% of the 75,000 people who are homeless in our county tonight. And we don't have even close to the jail space to do it. So we have to work with all the community organizations that deal with mental illness, that deal with trying to get these people a place to live as well. But what we won't do at the DA's office is what's been done over the last 4 years, and tell law enforcement ahead of time, don't arrest these people, because we're not going to prosecute those crimes. So again, with respect to this particular situation, it is a combination. You got to get them beds. You got to get them services for them, whatever the issues they're dealing with. And if they're committing crimes, they're going to go through the criminal justice system. There's no way around that. But if we can all work together and in a concrete way, not just a whole bunch of words so that we have this talk in a year from now, and we tell you there's 300 people in the Ciuffetelli Basin who are committing fires every single week. That's unacceptable. So I can control what the DA's office does, and we're open for business in this respect.
I can meet with you after, and I don't know if you know your senior lead officer, Mike Terrazas, in the area. I don't know, I'm assuming you do. But we can figure out things with Council District and talk. Oh, there you go. I wish he'd be that friendly with me, but we'll work with you on that, okay?
I'd be surprised if anyone here didn't know who Jamie Thompson was. A question, this is one, geez Louise. This one is about drug addiction with previous records. Is there any way of knowing how many people who are out there with mental illness and drug and records who were just out here in our neighborhood?
We certainly we can run people and find their criminal records, but what's kind of the question again? One more time.
This was a mentally drug addiction problem. Previous record. How many others are in our neighborhood?
So I don't know the exact numbers, but we can access people's criminal records. There may be some things mental health wise that we can access. We have a mental evaluation unit. I can check and see if people have had past contacts with our mental evaluation unit. We have clinicians that work with us too, so we have access to it. I'm not sure if I can tell you the exact numbers here though.
So when it comes to mental illness, there are certain HIPAA. It's a federal law that deals with the type of medical information that can be disclosed about an individual to the public. And it protects us all. I mean, it protects this type of information for yourselves coming out, or anybody in our society coming out for public consumption. So we don't have exact numbers of people who are suffering from mental illness, and those numbers, because of these protections, would never be publicly available. I can tell you when they get through the criminal justice system, if they get mental health diversion, there is almost always a record of that. It's not necessarily kept in some database or a dashboard that is accessible to everybody. But these are public hearings, and there's a bunch of them. We're going to be publicizing a whole number of them where we think judges have acted improperly, or if they've acted properly, they followed laws that we think are unwise. So it's not an incredibly satisfying answer. I can't tell you, for instance, like some of the other laws that are out there. If someone who's a sexually violent predator is living in your neighborhood, there's actually a database for that. There isn't one for someone suffering from mental illness or from a drug addiction.
Sorry, Josh, can I interrupt? We have somebody here that has an important question.
Oh,
Sherry.
yeah.
You want to
Sure.
tell them a little bit about your situation?
Sure.
Hi. This whole incident would really hit close to home to all of us, but especially us because we got robbed 3 times in a row 2 days before this happened in Encino. And what I want to know is, why does it have to take a death in order for us to have a meeting like this? Why couldn't our incident immediately be taken care of, men be arrested. There was a few obvious things, I think, that could have gotten these men arrested. So 2 days later, they wouldn't hop the gate and go kill those 2 people in Encino. Because there was a clown mask found in the stolen car. The Armenian gang was involved in our robbery. It happened July 5th, July 7th, July 8th. And you know why it really hit close to home? Because we were home the second and third time. My daughter was sleeping in her room. They opened the door on her. We heard the door open, and our dog started barking, and then they ran out with all the things that they stole for the third time. They jumped our slopes, even though we had a security guard for our 4 homes in the front, and they get from any street access up the slopes to our home. So that's another issue. It's like we can't even protect ourselves because we have to think about all the other streets too. And if only some of the information was put together. I still haven't gotten a phone call from the detectives. I know you guys are overwhelmed, but hopefully we're gonna fund for more police. What about the detectives? I just want to know, like, why?
I'm very sorry that happened to you and your family. The investigation, I think you came the night of the CTAB meeting. I think you were talking to some of us there, and certainly the lack of resources on patrol, it's equal in detectives. I will make sure a detective calls you so you can work through this. I don't have the investigation in front of me, and if we do have an investigative lead, we'll follow that and exploit that. I don't know what was...
The officers were too busy to let me know who the detective is. They told me to figure it out on my own.
And we'll get you that, and I will make sure that happens tomorrow. But I don't know if there's a nexus to what you were saying in terms of the murder. But we'll look into it, and that's what I can give you now, and I'll make sure you get a phone call.
Armenians got arrested for our incident, one guy, and then this guy was Armenian, and there was a clown mask in the stolen car. That's the Armenian gangs wear clown masks. Why can't you follow up with that? It's so easy.
She was asking about the clown mask and if we can follow up on the connections, and so. You know, I know Lieutenant Golan's here, he can give some details, and I don't know if that's going to help in your case, but the details that he can give you, I can pass
them on. Just for the future.
And I'm with you, and that's why I said I would love to have a detective sit down and talk with you.
It would help everyone in Encino if you guys find the Armenian gang and get to them.
And again, like I said, when we have a lead, we will follow it to the fullest of our abilities. Guy, did you want to take a time to talk?
Next question.
Let me grab up real fast, though. It is extremely frustrating. It is very frustrating to have your home broken into, and it's extremely frustrating to feel like nothing's being done. Are we understaffed in detectives? More so than even patrol. Like, those vacancies are going to be the last to be filled. It's bad. However, you guys never hear the good stuff. You think we're not doing anything, so I just want to let you know a little bit of what we do. We classify these cases, and if we think they're similar, and especially the Valley burglaries are being sent to our Metropolitan Division Task Force. They're putting the cases together. They're doing surveillance operations. They have cleared 150 to 200 total burglary cases. They've received 100% filing ratio on the 38 arrests that they've had, involving 14 crews. They've recovered 15 firearms. It's not going to make you any feel better because we haven't arrested yours yet. But don't lose hope. There sounds like there's good leads. I assure you it's not just sitting on a shelf getting dust.
I just wish these 2 people would have been killed. That's all.
Yeah, and we don't know whether they're connected or not yet, but I'm
certain it could have been my daughter.
We're going to be passing the information on the homicide detectives.
I think that we're going to go on for 10 more minutes, right? How does that sound? We can go on. Yeah, I think that we have a. But so if anybody here is interested in asking questions or getting more involved, please reach out to me, to myself, or to Roy, or to any of the other board members who are in the room tonight. I'm going to move on to another question. I see that there are a lot of hands that are up, and I see that. So I'm going to ask one question here. If you'd like to ask another question, come up here, just make a line here, and we'll only have 10 minutes. But here we go. This is a question. It's about the Oak Tree Motel.
Right on.
Yeah. We only, again, we only have 10 minutes, okay?
You guys can do me a favor.
Yeah, this is too many people. Yeah. Okay.
We'll have my lieutenant write down your questions, contact information, and we'll try to follow up.
Okay. This is a question that was written down. It's about the Oak Tree Motel, which is on Ventrell Boulevard. I guess the question is, will this endanger nearby residents? I know of other such motels that, where people have left, or they moved, or they relocated because of, these such motels.
I don't have any information on the Oak Tree, so we'll have to follow up with that.
I submitted a question.
Sorry, I can't answer that.
You did? Yeah. There were so many things. Next question, Josh. Next question.
I'm ready to go.
I'm
ready to go.
We're going to call.
First of all, thank you guys for taking the time to speak to me. You mentioned mobile drones as an option. We have 250 people here. This is a community that is well-funded. What does it take for us to buy these drones and buy for your forward-facing cameras? We're here. Let us go fundraise. It's going to be faster than finding 100,000 people to show up at a meeting. So let's do it.
Quick question.
So, what I would do is immediately contact your city council person. Who is the city council person?
She does not do it,
Here's why. If you go ahead, let me explain how this will work. Because what happens since you're a part of Los Angeles City is that Los Angeles City, unless it has a specific way to fund this for a particular part of Los Angeles City, the city attorney's office won't actually let it be done. But solution time. Work with the LA City Attorney, Heidi Feldstein-Soto. Either work with or bypass your city council person if they're not interested in doing this. And ask them, the LA City Attorney has to give you the legal mechanism, probably some level of a nonprofit organization, some LLC that would have to be funded as sort of a supplemental, it's almost like a foundation for the Encino Community Safety Foundation. And see if you could then have the LA City Attorney work with you to create the legal mechanism where you can self-fund, if you so desire, in this community, and the funds will stay in this community. Because that's the other option. When you're giving to LA City, the city can put it anywhere it wants. You want these funds to stay here to actually create the security in your community, and you're willing to pay for it. So, it'll probably be some type of foundation structure. You'll need a board, you'll need a legal setup for it. You'll need to coordinate with the LA City Attorney to figure out the legal mechanism to allow you to self-fund, because then you actually have to purchase the stuff. And remember who's going to be running it, LAPD. So LAPD will then have to be working with the LA City Attorney's office so that they can go ahead and have this just in this station and none of their other stations, much quicker than they have. So that's how you sort of, again, I'm giving you the thoughts off the top of my head on how you would get it done. But that's the only chance you have to get it done in real time.
If I could just jump on that. If you are using it in conjunction with the police department, we are bound by multiple laws. The drones are not really that expensive. And we are starting a drone as first responder program, which could be considered a minor miracle. Because every Tuesday we do have people who voice their opposition to such programs very aggressively. A drone is considered, I don't know if I've spoken to any of you about AB 481, military equipment. We have to report certain items of police equipment every year on a report. Basically, it has to go through our police commission and city council for us to be authorized to purchase it. A drone is considered military equipment. I mean, we all think military equipment is tanks and heavy armor. No, our 40 millimeter less lethal launcher is military equipment according to this law. So drone is covered under AB 481. What I would ask for you to do, even about the fundraising, is great. You can donate if you want, if there's funding for that. However, your voice being heard at City Council on Tuesday mornings and the Board of Police Commission on Tuesday mornings, and you don't even have to show up Police Commission, you can log on. It's very important to craft the policy of the city, and the city is going forward with drones as first responders. I would anticipate West Valley would hopefully get one soon, especially the appetite in the valley. There's an appetite for it here. So the first pilot program is Topanga right next door. I would anticipate West Valley would be coming soon. But thank you.
Thank you.
I shouldn't have asked people to come up, but that was a great question. We do not have time to answer any more questions. Heather, I'm so sorry. I understand. I understand, Heather. What would you suggest? How many more questions?
I mean, 10 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? We're gonna.
We can't have all these people.
I know. We're gonna just coming up with a stakeholder here. Would you mind coming up, ask your question, please, and then.
See what I'm talking about here?
So, Officer Walia, if you guys still have questions that you want to have answered, give them to Officer Walia. Officer Walia will get back to you with either the answer or the person that you need to talk to get that answer. So, we are just. I mean, there's like 20 people that all each have one question, so we can. And they can stay and talk to you also. They'll stay and talk to you as well. But we just, it's hot and they have been here for an hour and a half and we have to be, we also have. I want to thank everybody for coming. I know you guys are all getting restless and ready to leave. I want to thank everybody for coming. You guys here, you guys came here, you made a statement that they cannot ignore, and you made your voices heard, and I thank you for that. Thank you very much. And if you have your questions, please bring them.
And also get involved with the Encino Neighborhood Council. Thank you very much for coming.